Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is ce-mintt. That's ce-mintt with two T's because of copyright. So let's get into this, okay? We are watching the TS Madison Experience, and as per usual, these episodes only keep getting better. In this video, we're going to be breaking down episodes 3 and 4, and then you can catch me breaking down episode 5 this weekend and or early next week. Don't hold me to this weekend, okay? Because it's a girl's birthday, turning 26 like a bad bitch. That's a verse. Bop. First off, thank you for your patience. I have been moving, I've been settling in, I've been working on a lot of projects, and I would like to say thank you for your patience in waiting for these reviews. But in this episode, I'm going to be giving you episode 3 and 4 review, and then in like 2 or 3 days, you will see the review for the episode of the last episode that just happened, episode 5. So, my apologies, a bitch was busy, but we're gonna get into it and we're gonna have a good time anyway, because the episodes that we have been getting have been amazing, and I'm so happy with the direction that the show has taken. I'm so happy with the way that TS is really just getting to be herself and getting to be authentic and not having to fit into a box in order to get this reality show, because based off how everything in the pandemic has been going, it seems like every reality show that it's like a new season of, they've been getting basically like 10 episodes, and that's been the way for like basically everything else on WeTV. So I'm like, okay, the fact that we're at episode 5 now is like really amazing, and I'm really loving the direction it's taking. So let's jump into episode 3 and then episode 4, and then you can check back for episode 5 in a few days, okay? Thank you. Thank you for your patience. So yeah, I guess let's jump into this. First thing is first, I absolutely love that every single episode seems to start off with like Maddie and her mom in some funny circumstance of just being themselves, and it really is like, I think it's a fantastic way to open episodes, because it really just gets you started on such a loving level, because their relationship is so funny but also so authentic that I'm like, this is amazing, and it makes me just want to call or text my mom, you know? See, the next big scene is Craig and Maddie getting to have a conversation about what just happened with Oliver and Madison's fight, and basically the fact that they basically now have to come to some form of a resolution. And the thing that I love that's happening is that Maddie is owning her own part in what happened, and the fact that she is triggered by money conversations. It's just so nuanced and new for reality TV, but then also such a beautiful, honest depiction of like, yeah, we're all juggling different emotions, we all come from difficult pasts, difficult presents, and we're all just hoping for a positive future. And so it was just so really beautiful to see Maddie begin to open up about like what triggers her as an individual and why those kind of conflicts can come up, because so oftentimes we don't acknowledge the fact that we have a part in all of the arguments that go on in our lives. And so it was really beautiful, and on top of it, I love the fact that you kind of get to see Craig's role in the group, which is basically, in my opinion, the dad. It's really sweet to see him actually have that conversation with Maddie and have her like really be honest with him, and he's that figure who like kind of is like a point of contention, is like kind of adversarial in a supportive, loving way, but also adversarial with everybody in terms of the meetings and everything. It feels kind of like everyone's trying to get Craig onto the same page everyone else is on, and that's their loving dynamic, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's nice to see that like, okay, so this is the part of you that like we probably wouldn't get to see if the cameras like weren't rolling, or if this was a different type of reality show, because it was a side where you're like, oh, that's the friend side of Craig outside of every production meeting and all of the like conversations around what they're doing next. So it's like so beautiful to see that relationship that they have, and you can see exactly why Craig is a part of the group and why Craig stays, and I love it. And then the next scene is when we get to see the video of the trans woman being attacked, and for me, when I saw it, I have so many memories of being triggered through reality TV and the content that they put out there surrounding trans women, because they will not at all present it in a way that's actually delicate or sensitive to the trans community. It's just basically put there as like sensationalism. And so one, the fact that the video was blurred out, I was like, thank you, because there's so many trans people who be watching this who like, we don't necessarily want to see the actual video. Some of us may want to, and you can go and find the video, but I don't want to, and I would be triggered if I had to see it. So first of all, that was just a whole moment of like, this is what happens when there's trans people involved in the creation of these shows. Because when you involve trans people in the creation of these shows, that's when you can actually make sure that things are actually palatable to every audience. To actually make sure that trans people are actually invited in to watch this, because a cis person is not going to know what a trans person is going to be affected by the way that a trans person will. Yeah, it makes me happy that someone with such a big platform is tackling this subject in a way that is actually humanizing and on top of it, actually educational for people who aren't trans. Because I was sitting there and I was realizing that like this is probably one of the first times that a lot of people who aren't trans are probably witnessing a conversation around the violence that goes on, because so oftentimes they don't want to put themselves into trans spaces, but a TV show is a trans space that a lot of cis people can find themselves in. So I feel like TS is just being an amazing advocate, an amazing person, because what she is doing is uplifting the rest of her community and is as well giving voice to so many people who would not have a voice otherwise. So it made me so happy to see. And on top of it, one of the things that I was keeping my eye out for was the fact that like to see Tiffany's response to it, because it was one thing where like, again, we know about the video of her saying transphobic things to a woman came out, so it was like, okay, so it was just another piece to the puzzle of like, okay, so like, what is Tiffany really doing on the show? You know what I mean? Because she still hasn't been in an actual episode physically, which I'm like, it's a pandemic, I understand it. But then also, why would you take the gig if you can't ever be there in person? I'm not mad at it, but I'm like, it's just been like she's been like a phone call friend, which I'm not mad. Well, actually, no, let me stop saying I'm not mad at it. I'm mad at it. I'm like, can you be there? Because I feel like there's an energy missing from you when you're just doing it through a screen, because, you know, she's just going into a separate room and turning on her FaceTime and doing this, and then turns it down and then goes back to go live her life because, like, you know, she can't physically be there to shoot. So I'm just like, they couldn't have found somebody in, like, you know, Atlanta who, like, could have done this for a moment and been like, we'll just bring her on for season 2. Like, yeah, she's just been lacking for me just because she's only been through FaceTime. And then the next scene, we get to see Miss Mary and Maddie actually having a conversation about the video. And I think, again, it was just one of those really breathtaking, beautiful moments, because I connected to everything that Maddie was saying. And then to hear what Miss Mary was saying, it just reminded me of all the conversations I've had with my own mother and her own fears around having a trans daughter, just because of my safety, just existing as who I am. And as well knowing that, like, me and Maddie are just both out, proud, loud, Black trans women. So it's also like, you're going to see us, you're going to notice us, and so I understand so many of the things that Miss Mary said, and I think that their conversations are things that are really healing, and I know that they are because they're healing for me, because it adds a whole nother level of validation to what my experience has been with trying to navigate everything with my mom. And it makes me happy to know that, one, it's pretty similar for most trans people, but on top of it, it made me so kind of like, it gave me a roadmap, because her and her mom have been working on this for years, their relationship and everything. So for me, it's one of those things where I'm like, do you know how few times you actually get the opportunity to be like, wow, this is like a Black trans person who is walking in my shoes, and I'm going to be walking in the shoes that she's been walking in for years by the time I get to like my 30s, because without her, I can't exist. Like her outness, her proudness, her loudness, all allowed me to be able to be my out, proud, loud self. And so for me, it's just so amazing to see that conversation with her mom is something I'll still be having with my mom when I get older. And it makes me happy. It makes me happy. And it also is something that I hope a lot of people watching take from and realize that you need to have these conversations with your family members and everything about everything that's going on in the world, because I always like to think that the younger generation, it's like, we're the people who are in tune with what's going on, and we need to be letting and checking in with our family members that they're growing with us in this society, because it's easy for them to get left behind, especially because, like, we're too busy doing things. We got shit to do. We are like the most stressed out generation as millennials, so I'm like, we got shit to do. But yeah, it's been something where I didn't realize how much my mom was getting out of touch, because me and my two brothers weren't keeping her informed. She didn't know what this thing was or that thing was. She didn't know where the money resided or anything like that. So it was like, yeah, I guess it is my job to kind of update you and let you know. But then on top of it, well, never my job. It is kind of like one of those things that as a loved one, what I can do is like help to update you and let you know what's going on. But also you have to have a parent who is willing to grow, who's willing to learn, who's willing to be like, I don't know everything. I don't know what is going on in the world. And that is one of the things where, like, once you have those two things together, someone who wants to grow and learn and someone who's happy to grow and learn with somebody is like perfect. And so that's what Miss Mary and TS have, and it makes me happy. Something that really piqued my interest with Miss Mary and TS's conversation is they had some very important dialogue around the intersection of not only being black, being women, but as well being like Christians. And it's an intersection that not a lot of people have conversations about. And it's something that I'm at as well, because my mom is black woman from the South, Baptist, and I grew up Baptist, and personally, I'm like, I believe in a lot of things. I can't really say there's a category for the religion I believe in, but I believe in a lot of things. But yeah, it blows my mind at the nuanced conversation that they have. And it takes me back to what Miss Mary said in the first episode, where she was like, I'm a mother before I am a Christian. And for me, that just resonated even more with everything she was saying in terms of like the video, Maddie, her love for her and everything. And it warmed my heart. And then we get to see Maddie getting to have the conversation about the video on her platform. And for me, that was also a transformative scene, because I don't think that we get to see conversations and discussions held in the way that Maddie holds them. Because just like she says that she's raw, unfiltered, and all of these different things, that's how she has her discussions. And I think that as opposed to something like The View or any other panel show where like other people are having discussions, I think that you find much more honest and nuanced conversations on Maddie's platform. For example, the fact that like, yeah, it's like you can come on my show, let's have a conversation and discussion, just like, keep it within bounds, but like other than that, let's have a discussion and let's actually get some growth and some nuanced perspectives going. And I think that seeing a black trans woman hold that type of space is, I think, something brand new for a lot of people watching. And I think that she in that scene proved something that I don't think most people noticed in that moment. But I think that she proved that like she is filling a gap. She is filling a huge gap, and not just because she is a black trans woman, but because she holds conversations and dialogues and creates spaces and creates energy as well that no one else can. And when I tell you the fact that I was looking at a screen of different sizes, colors, shapes, and sexual orientations all on that screen of people talking with her, it was like, that's a more diverse group of people than you can see on any talk show on TV. And it made me so happy and excited to see the more things she was going to create. And then we get to see her going over to Oliver's in order to have like, make peace over a meal. And when I tell you, when Oliver was saying that it was such a sweet gesture for Maddie to leave her house because she doesn't leave her house for anybody, it was something that there are moments where I love when people humble themselves to stepping out of their comfort zone when they know that they have been wrong in some sense. Like Maddie was like, yeah, I realized I was triggered and I didn't come say exactly what I wanted and I didn't listen to what Oliver had to say. And it was so sweet because it's one of those things where, especially in an employee-employer relationship, there's often a power dynamic where like, well, okay, the employee needs to come and apologize. Or if the employer is like going to apologize, it's going to be like, oh, well, come into my office, I'm sorry. It was like, you really went out of your way to really, show your remorse for what happened and also actually take the steps to making amends. But then on top of it, I love that Oliver also, by owning a piece of what he had in the whole argument happening, was cooking the meal. And it was something that was just, it was sweet to see two people on reality TV actually meeting each other in the middle, actually being like, no, we were both wrong. Let's like grow from this and learn how to communicate. It was beautiful to witness, and I don't think you see it often on reality TV. Okay? And also, can we talk about the fact that seafood looks so good? I wanted to dig in to that pot of crab legs. I love crab legs. I love seafood in general. My mom is from Baltimore. She was born there. My family's from the South in North Carolina. So it's like seafood by the coast. That's my life. And then we get the scene of that transphobic ass man saying all of that horrible stuff about Maddie, which it was something just visceral to watch the video, even with the voice changed and the like face blurred out. It was still just something that like, I'm so happy that they showed it, because it's not something that you often actually get to see. It's like the actual experience of a trans person getting those messages, and it was just unbridled honesty. And I think it was new clarity that I've never seen on reality TV, and it makes me, again, so happy to see, because you get to see the emotion she goes through and how, as a trans person, you oftentimes have to balance clapping back or success. Oftentimes it's like, well, you can't clap back at that person because then like you're this type of way and then nobody was gonna work with you, and or nobody's gonna want to work with you. And it adds a whole difficult layer of like actually just existing, because how do you not clap back at a person who is literally degrading you on your identity and every single piece of who you are? So I understood. I truly understood exactly where she was coming from. And I think that she has a beautiful group of people around her because they all want to support her and they all want to get her to the vision. But I think that Maddie isn't feeling heard in terms of like, but you don't know what it's like to not clap back at these people. Like, and I understand that. And I think that through all of the conversations that she had with everybody, I think everyone did give her fantastic advice. But I think what she ended up with in the end was genius. Because if you can't be yourself and accomplish the dream that you want, the dream probably isn't exactly what is right for you. And then we get the scene of Chi-Chi getting to finally like hit the nail on the head in terms of being like, clap back at those hoes. Clap back at them hoes. Because I think that Chi-Chi does an amazing job of reminding Maddie of who she is, but not necessarily connecting that to the fact that like maybe your dream isn't what you want, but we all can't do everything for a person. And I think Chi-Chi did a beautiful job of reminding Maddie that like, don't change who you are. We love you because you clap back. That's the reason why people click follow, is because you clap back. So if you can't clap back, then like, let's not change who you are. Don't change the ingredients when you love the meal. Okay. So now we jump into episode 4, okay, y'all? Now, episode 4 starts off again with an amazing Miss Mary and Maddie scene, which I was like, they keep warming my heart. Like, this time it's them with the eggs and the breakfast and everything. And it's just so freaking sweet. And it's really, I don't want to say it's nice to see Maddie just like in a different energy, but it's humanizing. It's humanizing to see her in this really like drained, kind of down energy, because it's human to feel it. We all do. And it's something that I don't think that most people actually ever get to see of most people on reality TV. Usually it's always the facade and then a breakdown. You usually don't get to see people actually just be like, no, I'm like, this, I don't know what it is, but I'm just not doing it. Like, I'm not at it. And then after that, we get to see Legra come over and have a conversation about the clapback video that she posted, which I understand posting it. I just think it's one of those things where you just gotta let a hoe know. You just gotta be like, Legra, it's shaping up where like, I'm pretty sure that I'm not gonna be able to do exactly what we planned on doing because I'm not gonna give up certain pieces of myself. Which I think is amazing. But you gotta let a hoe know. Because Legra's coming over to be like, so, like, what is happening? I brought these people in. We're paying these PR people now. All of this stuff. We're following their guide because we want to get you to the dream that you want to have. And I think that TS just needed to like let her know, because at first I was like, why you make it sound like you're about to fire her? I love Legra's response of like, I'm not going anywhere. It's just like, if you want to be the next Oprah, we're trying to make you Oprah. It's not like we're trying to change you. We're trying to make you said Oprah. You said Oprah. But I do think that Maddie coming up with Maddie After Dark, genius. Absolutely fantastic. That's the definition of creating your career and your goals and your dreams around who you are, instead of the other way around. Because creating Maddie After Dark is literally, what do you want to talk about? This is what you want to talk about? Here's the platform where literally exactly the audience you want can come and watch you. And then when this pops off, that's when all of the CBS's and all of the NBC's can look at this and be like, hold up, wait a minute. This is actually still popping, and so maybe we need to get into this audience in this market. I absolutely love the conversation between Maddie and Miss Mary, because their conversations are one that like, yeah, they just truly accept each other for who they are and every single piece of themselves. And that's the beauty, because even their conversation about sex was like, this is hysterical and this is honest. And I think that a lot of people wish they could talk to their parents about sex the way that like Maddie and TS do. I mean Maddie and TS. That Miss Mary and TS do. I absolutely love that Tiffany is going to be on the show. It's one of those things where like, okay, so like, finally, like, especially through screens, it's like, I can understand not necessarily needing to, like, not, I completely understand not necessarily being able to be there physically because of Corona, but like, you gotta do something for it. Like, you gotta be on the show, do something, because otherwise, you're really not standing up to how funny Miss Mary is, how amazing Oliver is, because we just get Tiffany every 2 seconds through a FaceTime, and it's like, well, I mean, it's not even like you were on there for like a large portion of the entire episode, you know? So, yeah, I'm excited for her to be on Maddie After Dark, and I think we all know exactly, like, she is the HBIC, so I'm very excited to see what she says on the show, how entertaining she is. Plus, on top of it, I don't think I heard about Maddie After Dark when she was doing it, but I don't ever remember hearing about Tiffany being a guest. But yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm excited to see her on there because I want to see Tiffany's perspective, especially when it comes to helping promote and uplift Maddie. So yeah, I'm excited to see. And I think we now know exactly why I did not hear about Tiffany being on Maddie After Dark. She canceled. Okay, and I have to say it again. In this episode, it's like, Tiffany, Tiffany, this is literally like the third time you've canceled. This is like the third time you have canceled. Like, really? Really? Like, I'm just, because at this point it's just like, anybody else could have filled this role. Like, we could have gotten Nene Leakes. We could have gotten a series of other Atlanta-based people who could have jumped into this spot to just be there for the season. But it's like, it just, because the third time she, like, cancels, it's just like, it just, at that point, it just seems like you're not fulfilling the commitment of, like, Miss Mary is giving us these hysterical one-liners. You know, like, she's over here being like, we're trans. I love that, where she's like, trans people, I love it. There's Chi Chi with these, like, amazing, 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 like, jokes and everything. I love Chi Chi with this amazing personality. Craig even has these snappy jokes, and of course Oliver's a light, so it's like, you can't really serve the same energy if you're doing it through like FaceTime. So on top of it, to cancel and then only be FaceTime, and it's like, well, I mean, you can't just do this one thing. Like, it's like, and I understand exactly where Tiffany's coming from. Where like, if your man says like that makes him uncomfortable, that if that's your relationship, follow your fantasy. If I'm like, no problem, but then why? Like, it's like one of those things where like, just like TS said, like, she is raunchy, she is unfiltered, and all of these things. So then it's kind of like one of those, if you're not raunchy, raw, and unfiltered, then I feel like maybe you just aren't a good fit to be on the show. But that's just my 2 cents. I don't know about y'all, but I love a surprise party, and I love that they are all trying to surprise her, because there's something about that friend who like is always working, always hustling, always trying to do something, doesn't have the time to like do anything for themselves. Like, to plan out a surprise party is really, really beautiful, and it made me really happy because you again get to see them as a family. And I think you get to see the perfect embodiment in the next scene of truly like uplifting your family and your friends too, because when she went with Chi Chi as the new like guest host, it was like, this is genius. I absolutely think this is perfect because Chi Chi's personality is already hysterical. And then when you think back to like the earlier episodes of like them being like, Chi Chi's content making needs to get better because Chi Chi's just smoking weed on live and that's not actually like, you know, creating a show or anything. And so it like was so beautiful because it was like, oh my god, that's how you uplift your friend. That's how you're like, you know what? I'm gonna give them this platform to like showcase who they are. We're gonna get you this wig. You don't even gotta pay for it. And the wig scene needs to get its own Emmy award because, Lee Tanya with that wig, and then you really got to see the drag process of like when Chi Chi felt the fantasy in the wig as opposed to not when like Chi Chi was just like, this is just a lot of hair. It's just very bushy. And then like when you see like, oh bitch, you saw Litanya come out as soon as that like straight hair came out. It was like, we found Litanya. And it was so beautiful to watch because again, there's so many people watching this for the first time who are like, never seen drag, never seen the transformation of it or anything. And so it's really, really beautiful to watch on TV. And I'm like, they slayed that fucking scene. And I think it was really beautiful to watch. And then we get to see the whole episode getting filmed, and absolutely spectacular. I just think that if there's anything that you can say about TS is that she's a star, and when the camera is on, she is always on. And so the show was fantastic. I love the conversations that they had. I love the interaction between Miss Mary, Lee Tanya, and then TS. It was just a fantastic show, and I think it's one of those things where like watching it, you were like, So I guess you really don't need TS. I mean, I guess you really don't need Tiffany except for the followers, and that's not shady at all. It's just like, I mean, Lee Tanya slayed that shit. I kind of just want to see a show with them three. So I'm like, I love it. Then preparing for the surprise party, you see Legra and TS on the horses and everything, and absolutely amazing. I was like, this is hysterical that right now I'm watching a horse get an erection based off of Legra. This is a gag, and this is amazing TV. While at the same time, you get to see Craig being bougie in some cute little outfit, being like, I'm not dressed to roll things in order to like help. And honestly, I really felt for Chi Chi and Oliver. It was a scene where you were just like, you can't put yourself aside right now to help set up because they literally have been here longer than you, setting up other things, and no tea, no shade, helping to plan things. Because Craig even said in like his first confession, like, I am busy, I have other jobs, I do other things, which respected. They all had other jobs and things, but no one else said it. So it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I know the old girl's working on her new book, doing this thing, but it's like, if you're there and they need your help, can't you just help them? Wouldn't it be easier? Things would be done faster. And yeah, especially because it's like Maddie's birthday. So it's like, don't you want to help? And so I understood that frustration, that whole frustration. And I think it was really sweet when you got to see kind of like all that energy get put aside for the surprise, and when like Maddie walks in and seeing everybody and getting to really be enveloped by love. It was tender, and scenes that you don't get to often see happen with black trans people being at the center. It was beautiful, and it was queer, and it was black, and it was amazing. And then of course, like any reality show, ends with an argument, but rightfully an argument, because when Maddie says we're all going to Florida, we're going to get an RV and we're driving on down, it was like one of those things where everybody went off. But Oliver, I think, said it at the wrong time to be like, I have some concerns about it. Because it's like, the time to say I have concerns about this is not at the birthday party. It's after the birthday party when you're cleaning up and being like, so Maddie. So as we clean up the place, so Maddie girl. I'm like, did you know that Craig did this today? I'm nervous. I'm not necessarily sure if Craig gonna do his part. You know what I mean? Like, that's the time to do it. Not at the table in front of Craig, in front of everybody. Like, there's no good that's gonna come out about calling somebody out about being lazy in front of a group of people at a birthday party. There's just no good that's gonna happen. And of course, that is our cliffhanger. And then I'm so excited because we get the preview in the next episode. They're going to Miami and they get to see where Maddie grew up, where Maddie like started like actually hustling and everything. So like, I'm really excited about that because that's, to be honest, the thing that I've been looking forward to the whole time, because I don't know much about her backstory. I know the bits and pieces, but like, she's a bitch who needs a biopic. But yeah, 2 amazing episodes, and again, thank you for your patience. I'm trying to get these videos out for y'all, but a girl is busy and booked and tired at the same time, and she's finding time for herself for the first time in her life. So be patient, and thank you. I love y'all so much. Thank you for tuning in as usual. And again, you can look out for probably in the next few days the next episode 5 review, and it's gonna be amazing. Thank you again for viewing it. I've been your bad bitch, Junior. Mwah. I love you, and keep being a bad bitch.